in whatever way you choose to experience it. Um, and or maybe to join the ranks of the volunteers who maintain and support the Long Path. And I know we have a number of volunteers here this evening, so thank you for your great work. And or maybe you'd like to be a trail angel and help the people that come through section or through hiking or through running or whatever crazy thing they might be doing. So this evening, we're going to have a short presentation. We've got 6 images, although I think we might have picked up one more, but call it 6 or maybe 7. And these are all taken by award-winning Hudson Valley photographer Steve Aaron. And we're going to start in the south and head north. And then we've got our panelists, and we're going to just ask them to react to these images and recall what their experience was like at that point on the trail. So let me introduce our panelists. In addition to Steve, say hello to Kim Levinsky, owner of Sassquad Trail Running, who is the subject of the documentary film, The Long Path, A Journey of Becoming. Kim ran the Long Path in July 2024, setting the female record time of 9 days and 10 hours. So that's the category of the faster experience on the Long Path. Heather Housekeeper, to my right, is known as the Botanical hiker and is an expert forager and experienced thru hiker. Heather is also founder of the School of Plant and Place Connection. She hiked the Long Path with her husband, Scott Weiss, in September 2017 and wrote a book about the experience, Love and the Long Path. And Heather has got books for sale, and you can get them autographed afterwards. And as for me, I ran the Long Path in 2013 and also wrote a book, Running the Long Path, which I've got copies of as well, plus free bookmarks if you need one. And it is interesting that the Long Path has inspired books and a movie and photographs, and that may be the long arm of Walt Whitman reaching out from beyond the grave, because as you know, the Long Path is short for the Long Brown Path, which comes from the Song of the Open Road. Okay, so let's get going, and let's start with image 1. And I'm going to use the that.
Good work.
There we go. Right. And so just to start off with, this is Jeremy Apker's online map of the Long Path. Our first image is from the Palisades region. And so let's, there it is. This is one of Steve's pictures. So Steve, tell us where this picture was taken and what was on your mind when you took it.
Okay. That picture was shot at Hook Mountain above Nyack. And what you see there is the village of Nyack. And I went up there early morning, pretty much sunrise, to catch the peak fall foliage at sunrise. So it wasn't necessarily a purposeful visit to the Long Path, but the Long Path goes right through there, as it goes through a lot of nice places all through the state. And I went up there to get sunrise and came up with this picture, which shows the bridge being constructed. Nice colors in Nyack, and you can see pretty far down the Palisades. And just a little fun feature of this picture: there was an article in Backpacker magazine a number of years ago, and Andy Garrison made sure they got this, and this picture got published in the magazine. So that was really cool. Yeah, he hooked me up nicely. So that was it. It's sunrise, peak foliage at Hook Mountain.
Cool. So Heather, at this point, you and Scott went from south to north.
Correct.
So you were just starting out. How are you feeling?
Well, I was feeling apprehensive. It was September. We started September 4th, but the temps were very high. It was did not feel like we were approaching fall. It was certainly still summer temps. It was humid. Our packs were far too heavy. It doesn't matter how much long distance hiking you do, you always start out with too much, or at least I did. Yeah, Scott was sweating a lot, seemed to be struggling. And we had spoken with Andy Garrison before heading out on the trail about each of the sections and what we could expect. And he had told us that he'd hiked the Palisades section with his son Andrew when he was 10, and it was a breeze. It was not feeling like a breeze. And on top of it, while we were in the Palisades, somehow we encountered red ants that we can only imagine must have had a feast on us inside of our tent. Because by, I believe it was day 2 or 3, Scott was having an allergic reaction. He was covered in pustules. I had several myself. And this was where my herbal knowledge came in handy. So we were very thankful to find some common plantain and chickweed, which we both think of as, or one usually thinks of as weedy plants. But these were just growing on the trail, and we were able to make spit and chew poultices, which literally means chewing them up and spitting them out and applying them topically. So that helped to quell some of the irritation, but it was a rough start.
Yeah, I met some red ants in Texas, and I didn't hang around with them for very long. So Kim, you were doing the trail backwards in the sense that you were going north to south. So at this point, you were almost done.
Yes.
So how are you feeling
Yeah. Trash.
after 325 miles or whatever, right?
Yeah, my favorite story from this section is that I can't tell Steve if you can see Nyack High School from this angle. I'm guessing maybe.
Yeah, it might be just that a picture on the right, or
In
else
the-
it's right up
right.
there in the upper right corner.
Okay, so this was the second to last day for the long path, and we were up on the summit of Hook Mountain where you can see Nyack High School, which was the goal ending point for the day. And I kept asking my friends who were with me, how far is Nyack High School? Just tell me how far. And he kept saying, oh, it's a quarter mile away. It is not a quarter mile away from the summit of Hook Mountain. Years later, I still give my friend Ryan a hard time. And I was harping on him saying, put away all trails, pull out a Venza, and tell me the mileage based on the trail conference maps, because they're the most accurate. So that is my fond memory of the Palisades. But yeah, I mean, just gorgeous. Once you get those first few views of the Hudson River, it's just you know how close you are, in my case, to the end, or how far away you are from the end, if it's reversed.
It's just around the corner.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's keep going north. Our next stop is going to be Times Square. Now, not the one, I know what you're thinking. It's in, Manhattan. I used to work in an office building right on Times Square. This Times Square. So Steve, let's start with you again. What was on your mind when you took this interesting picture?
Yeah, so this is, Times Square's a junction. I think it's 3 trails meet there. There might even be more, but 5 trails, thanks. So a lot of trails meet there. And this is sort of a go-to hike for my wife and I and our dogs. And we start at Lake Schenectady and hike up to here and either hike back or extend the loop, whatever. So this is always a place to stop in and just sort of drink some water and get the dogs hydrated. But it's a landmark spot in Harriman State Park for anybody who hikes in Harriman, with 5 trails joining there. So it's not particularly beautiful, but it is a landmark. So there it is.
And Heather, at this point, you left the ants behind. How was your trip going?
Well, at this point, we'd had our first argument. Not all sunshine and rainbows hiking with your husband. Yeah, so I had hiked a number of long distance trails before in a very structured way. Scott was also a hiker and had hiked long distance, but very much in I'm going to see how far I go, and then I'll set up my tarp and eat some goji berries. And so I had planned all the mileage for the hike, and somehow I had miscalculated at this point, and I realized where I thought we were going to be at camp in a couple of miles, it would still be another 5 or 6. And Scott was convinced that I was just trying to push us as hard as possible, as hard and as fast. And my point was, my goal he thought was to check another trail off my list. But we talked it out, and I assured him that this was not about just adding another hike to my resume, that it was about us, that this was our journey. And it didn't matter how fast we went. As long as we got done in time, we took time off of work, so we did have to get back at some point. But that this was about our experience, and we would not be leaving, one would not leave the other behind no matter what.
Yeah, but he wasn't even your husband at that point.
He wasn't,
So
no.
it was sort of high stakes, right?
It was. Still together today.
Did you go the 5-6 miles to get there then, or did you?
No, we did not. We did not. Yeah, we altered our plans.
So I'll add that I ran the long path back in 2013, so not recently, but I do remember reaching this point, and I had a very odd feeling because, like I said, I worked in an office building overlooking Times Square. And if you live in New York City, Times Square is the last place you want to be, particularly on New Year's, because there's like 1 million people there. But when I got here, there was nobody here. So I thought this was sort of a strange contrast to my city experience. Okay, so let's keep going north. And our next stop is, we're going quickly, by the way. So we've gone through the Palisades in Harriman, and now we're going to pop up on Scunnamunk Mountain. And this is, Steve, by the way, I have this picture hanging in my living room.
Okay.
And if you can connect with Steve and get his pictures if you are looking to bring a little bit of the outdoors into your indoors. Kim, let me ask you, this is the view from Scunnamunk Mountain, looking northwest to the Gunks, the Shawangunk Mountains, and behind them, the Catskills. And so at this point, you were more than halfway done, but you were sort of in the middle of your adventure. You were racing from the north to the south. So Mike, and trying to set a record for the long path. Did you even stop here to look?
That day it was very, very, very hot, and we did not have those views. I remember that because I've been up there before and I've seen that, and I was disappointed that we didn't have those views, unfortunately.
Heather, how about you?
I was just gonna say, what's interesting about this spot is if you're doing the long path north to south, in this spot, you get the view to the north because the trail sort of reverses itself here. So when you're going north to south, here you're actually going north briefly.
You don't have to turn around then?
So on south to north, you need to turn around and see, so if that makes sense. Just a little reverse.
Which explains why when I did it in 2013, going from south to north, I didn't notice anything. Heather, how about you?
Well, we were very turned around, and maybe that's why. Maybe we tried to see the view. I don't know, but we went the wrong way when we got on top of Scunnamunk. We we went the complete opposite direction. Hiked all day long in the opposite direction, and
Oh,
didn't
really? Wow.
realize until the sun was going down and we were not descending the ridge that we had gone probably the wrong way. So we settled down for the night, and then, or no, yeah, we still were suspect. We were like, well, maybe we just aren't reading the directions right. Yeah. So anyway, we took a rest that night, and then in the morning continued in the wrong direction. Longer. And
Is that on the Highlands Trail?
it was where it coincides, I think, with I think you turn,
You made a right and you wanted to turn left.
we wanted to turn left.
I was reading the book and you turn right, I'm like, no.
That's the Highlands Trail.
We were like, it seemed like we were following the trail. Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
like we were just bushwhacking. Yeah, we just went the wrong way. And so at some point, I think when we got to some waterfalls, we were like, oh, no. There's no waterfalls. So we ended up turning around and having to go back. I feel like it was maybe like 8 miles or something. I'm not quite sure. But it ended up being one of our most favorite parts of the hike. I mean, it was beautiful. We got to see the whole ridge. So once we got over our frustration and we carried on in the right direction, we were actually kind of glad we'd made the mistake because it was so beautiful top of that ridge.
So turn right.
So turn left. And when we came back, we saw that there was a blaze, but it was like hidden behind like another tree, like just a little bit out.
I remember doing a training run and I was following the green blazes until I realized they were splotches of lichen.
Oops.
I didn't go 8 miles out of my way, but if I go
We're
a
wiser
quarter
than
mile out of my way, I freak out. And when you're running for time, you can't afford these.
Deeply. Not good with this at all.
Okay, so continuing right along at a faster pace than the actual.
Have an FKT in this talk here.
Yeah. So now we're going to show up in the middle of the Schwangungs. And there are a lot of special spots along the long path. We didn't want this to be like a 6-hour presentation, so we had to edit it down.
That's one big question.
Yes, ma'am.
So what are the little green sections going off to the?
The green sections are actually the Schwangung Ridge Trail
Oh,
or the SRT.
okay.
If there are any runners here, we have a race on the SRT in September. So it coincides mostly with the long path, but it sticks out a little bit. All right, so let's see, we've got. So Steve, this is Vercaderkill Falls, right? And it's this is one of the tallest waterfalls in New York at well over 200 feet or almost 200
Yeah,
feet.
I think it's just under.
Just under 200 feet. All right. I like to exaggerate. Heather, how was your hike going at this point?
So I loved the falls. I mean, I had seen photos, maybe yours. And I knew that it was going to be a stunning spot, but it was even more magnificent in person. And the ecosystem that surrounds the falls is so spectacular. You're on a dwarf pine ridge, which, from my understanding, is the only forest classified as such in the world due to the predominance of these stunted pitch pine trees. So the forest just has a very different feel from anywhere else you might be in the state, or on the trail. And when we were on the trail in 2017, a fire had swept through, I believe it was about a year beforehand. And so you could see evidence of that fire, but given that the ridge is adapted to fire sweeping through periodically, the plants that are well adapted to those conditions, like sassafras and oak and huckleberry, pitch pine, and they were all still very much thriving. And it was autumn, and the leaves were just really beginning to pop at that time too. So I was feeling rather awestruck at that moment.
There's that's where one of the signs is, welcome to one of Earth's last great places, which is how the Nature Conservancy categorized the Schwangung Mountains. I think that sign is still there. Kim, how was your race going at this point?
Yeah, I found Minnewatica to be, it was personally my favorite. I thought it was the most beautiful section of the entire long path. It's one of my favorite places to go. I do want to share a fun story with the legendary Andy Garrison. So he was he was our escort for that section because there was a closed trail at that point due to forest fires, and so he led us up the closed trail, and he was hiking so fast. Like, I don't know if anybody's hiked with Andy Garrison before, but it was also like 93 degrees and like 90% humidity, and I kept telling him, like, Andy, I'm going to have a heat stroke if we don't sit down. Several times where I just gotta pause and I would sit down on the rock. But we got up to a spot where he said, okay, I want to take you on a little detour. I was like, we are not doing detours. He's like, no, it's just a 1/10 of a mile. It's to Panther Rock. He's like, it's gonna be worth it. And of course he was right. I mean, it took a minute off of the trail, and you get up to this ledge. And at first I'm looking the wrong direction. I'm like, this guy is making us do this detour for nothing. He's like, no, turn around. And then it's the whole just sweeping views of, I'm sure you have pictures of there of the Catskills. So that was like just so special. And my emotions were shot at that time. So I just was like bawling, and Andy's like, what's wrong? What are they doing? I said, no, like, look, we can see like how far, we had come. We were just in the Catskills. So it was really, that was a really special part of the trip for me. And then, I mean, we caught that ridge at sunset, and it was just, the pictures I have don't even do justice. The whole sky was like pink and purple and yellow. And then we got to the falls just at dusk, where we still had some daylight left. But the week that I did the FKT was those historic storms that came through in July of 23. So there was a lot of water everywhere, but the falls were spectacular. Like, we could hear the falls from a mile away. It was so loud, and just felt really lucky that we got there where there's still daylight left for us to see it. And I said, we're doing another detour, because you do have to go off the long path just a little bit to see the falls. But it was, I mean, that whole section was my favorite of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the long path. There are certain spots along the way where you get a vista north or south, and you can see the mountains carrying the long path,
Yeah.
50 miles away or whatever. And that's really a good spot. There's a few of those in the Gunks, because the Gunks afford really good views of the Catskills. But the picture previous, the Scudamounk picture, standing on the long path, looking not exactly the long path in the Gunks, was a little off to the left, but where the long path formerly was routed on the Gunks, you can see it in that picture. And of course, you can see the long path peaks, the Eastern Devil's Path that also carries the long path. You can see from Scudamounk Space. It's just kind of a cool thing about maybe any long distance trail, but knowing this trail, it's kind of fun to be in one spot and looking way in the distance and seeing. So kind of a fun thing that you mentioned. So
Andy knew what he was doing.
yeah,
And
it's a good spot.
If you cover the trail on your feet, then you look and you say, okay, not only can I see that point, but I understand the distance. I understand how long it takes to get from here to there and how much effort. I don't know where Panther Rock is. Is it on the map?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, start.
Okay, I need to get to know Panther Rock. So I'll mention, if you didn't see the news, for Cherokee Falls was until very recently owned by private landholders, and they were super cool about letting the trail just go across their property. But that's not permanent protection. And if they sold their property to somebody else, they might be like, that'll be $5 to cross, or no, stay out. By the way, we've seen that in other places like Catskills, where there's some mountains where the private landowners said, no more, can't come on. So the Open Space Institute, working with the Trail Conference and another organization called Run Wild, raised $600,000 and bought the land last fall. So, and then it was sold to Minnewaska State Park. So now it is state land, and now it is preserved. Welcome. rumor has it that the Trail Conference is working on other projects to permanently protect parts of the long path where maybe it's an easement or permission from a landowner, but it's not necessarily permanently protected. So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have some interesting news for you. And
For a number of years, access to the Cuticle Falls was closed.
oh, was it really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It took a lot of negotiations to get it back.
Actually, if I live in that area, and I've noticed driving along the roads, there are blazes
Yeah.
on the telephone poles. So if you go back far enough, the long path went on roads beneath Sam's Point and the Swangunk Bridge. So it's been a work of decades by Trail Conference and Open Space Institute and other organizations, Nature Conservancy. The long path didn't just come into being overnight. It's been a 60-year plus project. Okay. We're not going to take 6 days or 9 days or 3 weeks to do the long path. We're going to do it in 1 hour. And so we're going to race ahead now to the Catskills, right in the middle. And the Catskills are about the midpoint. And it may be that Slide Mountain is, wouldn't that be interesting if that was the exact midpoint? Because that's where the plaque to John Burroughs is. But in any case,
It's the highest point on the long path.
it's certainly the highest point. Yeah. So this is Steve's beautiful picture of Slide Mountain taken from the shoulder of Cornell. Talk to us about this masterpiece.
Okay. I've known about Slide Mountain as the highest peak in the Catskills since I was a kid. I grew up in the Catskill region. I was into geography and mountains and all sorts of stuff, and I always knew it was the highest one. And it's a bit elusive to find it visually. You know, if you're on a road or something looking for it, it's a little tricky to find. I see it now because I know what I'm looking for. But long story short was I really never knew if I ever saw Slide Mountain, and always wanted to. So my first traverse of the Burroughs Range was believe it or not, only 10 years ago. And we were hiking through, we went up Slide, we summited Slide, went down through all that cool terrain in there. As you come off a Slide, and there's those giant rocks, and the foliage is all kind of weird and different. And what a cool hike that was. It was like really amazing. And then we're going up Cornell, and I get to the spot and turn around and see Slide, like boom, holy cow, it's right there. And it was like, for me, these are the things that excite me. And I was really, really excited by this view of Slide Mountain from Cornell. So that was like a real significant moment for me.
Kim, you at this point you had about 100 miles down, maybe a little bit more. So-
Yeah.
so were you-
further than that?
Were you warmed up at this
I
point?
think I was warmed up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you recall anything particular from going up and over Slide, or is it just
Yeah,
speed
I mean,
bump?
The Catskills, I thought were, we'll call it the most fun. I mean, I love the Devil's Path section, and then the Burroughs Range here with all the scrambles. The Cornell Crack is just iconic and going. So I went up. You guys went down, but I think down would probably be more scary. Yeah, it's
I
big.
didn't know it was coming.
Yeah, I do remember getting up on the top of Cornell Crack. We met some hikers who had heard about the FKT, and their connection was through the Trail Conference. So I remember chatting with them about the Trail Conference and the work that y'all do to keep those trails great. But yeah, the Burroughs Range, I just remember getting up on the top of Slide. Anywhere in the Catskills, when you hit over the 3,500 and you smell that smell, oh, I just remember that little, it's not a long stretch on the top of Slide before you like hang a hard, would have been for me to go down. But I just love all those sections. You have some of those stretches on the Devil's Path as well, but when it's something. It's like as soon as you hit the 3,500 mark, it's just that wave of aroma with the and Heather might help me out with all
some
all
butter, I
the
imagine.
yeah,
I joke, it
Smells like candy.
smells like an Adirondack gift shop.
right.
So Heather, now let me see if I can get this straight. I'm in your book, right?
Yes, you are.
Because Odie and I came out to meet you and Scott as you were coming down, I think, not Slide, but Plateau Mountain. And then you're in my other book about doing the Catskills Grid. This is the same.
It's the same.
So if you buy both books, you could be like, huh, is this the day?
Two different perspectives.
The stories match, so it's good.
But so you and Scott at this point with your 75-pound packs were kind of right along, right? How was coming down Plateau?
Remind me where that, so we were coming down Plateau before we met.
That's where we met.
That's where we met. Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Well, I do remember, yeah, many days in the Catskills were challenging. They were also incredibly rewarding. But I remember Scott meeting you for the first time barefoot as, and he was like, what on earth is this, like, for real? Like, as he's, struggling in his hiking shoes and his pack, and it's just like,
Well, and Odie too, so.
and Odie too, yeah, that we were not in Catskills. But I will say at this point, we did feel like we'd hit some stride.
Mhm.
We felt like we were getting stronger. We were stronger as a couple too. We worked through a lot at this point. And Scott is 15 years my senior, so a little bit older than me. And I think, and he hadn't long distance hiked. He hadn't gone on a journey like that. And gosh, I'm estimating, but probably maybe 20 years or something. So he had been a little concerned about the Catskills and Picamous in particular, because I think that was the first kind of big peak we would have been climbing. Yeah. And I remember like he was rather quiet going but when we got to the top, he was like a victor. And he told me, he said, I have like been so anxious about climbing Picamous this whole hike. Yeah. Like now I know I can do all the other ones. Like if I did Picamous, I could do the other ones. And so we were feeling good. We were feeling strong by the time we were hiking.
So I didn't know he felt like that about Picamos, but I do remember he did not appreciate coming down the north or the east side of Slide.
Oh,
Relax.
yeah. No, but yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
have any idea that there was that drop off.
Yeah.
The Cornell Crack, right? We're talking about the same thing. Yeah, no idea. So here we are suddenly standing on this ledge, and it's like
Do you guys like throw your packs down?
we took our packs off after trying to find every which way around the situation. We're like, surely there's some way we can go through the woods and like get down. No, this is the way that the blaze is like down there on the tree, and we're like, okay. So we took our packs, threw them off the ledge, and then knew that we had to follow after them somehow. So from what I recall, I think I got on my belly, helped to lower him down, and then he was down below, ready to catch me as I came down. I mean, the drop is, I want to say, am I exaggerating? I want to say
It's gotta be 80 feet.
20
I'm
feet?
kidding.
20,
90.
15?
I don't know. Anyway.
It's longer than
big,
your
yeah.
than your height. So I mean, it's like two people at least, I'd say.
Far enough to fall and get an
Yeah.
ouchie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for installing a little rope there or something.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no ladder there.
There was nothing. Just a crack in the rock.
Oh, is this the Cornell?
Yeah.
How did you climb up?
Yeah, climbing up, you kind of gotta wedge your foot in the crack and then do some Spider-Man thing. Where you're like,
Yeah.
yes. It
I
wasn't
can't imagine
graceful,
that
I'm
easy.
sure. Yeah.
So I no longer have the record for the long path because it's been improved several times, but I think I still have the record for the Cornell Crab. For doing it 4 times in a day. Because I came through and went up and over to go to Wittenberg and then back to go on towards Slide. And then I realized I'd lost a trekking pole.
Oh.
And I was like, you know what? I probably left it in Wittenberg. So I went back to Wittenberg. And then I was like, no, it fell off during the bushwhack. So then I went back again and went on and did the rest of as far as I went. This wasn't my long path through run. This was when I was trying to brace through the Catskills, but I don't know that anybody's bothered to go over the Cornell Crack more than 4 times in a day. Okay, so we're not going to set a new FKT if we dawdle. So let's get on to what is for now the northern terminus. But this line, I've noticed this. Where's Jeremy? Because this line is no longer stops at the Heidelberg Escarpment and the John Boyd Thatcher Park. I think they're trying to extend the trail to the Dax like it was supposed to be done. So we all got to do it before it got to be 420 miles or whatever. So Steve, tell us what we're looking at here.
So this is John Boyd Thatcher State Park, the former northern terminus of the Long Path. And that's the view out to Albany with the Empire State Plaza and the other state buildings down there in downtown Albany. And it's, at the time, this was the terminus and it was pretty exciting. To be clear, I did not through hike the Long Path and haven't yet maybe one of these days. So, but it was still just kind of fun to be at the terminus of the trail and this great view of Albany. And the trail starts in the southern terminus is in New York City, and the northern one overlooks Albany, and you have all those views of the Hudson. So it's truly New York State's long distance path. There's certainly the Hudson Valley's long distance trail. So this was from our Discovering the Long Path photo exhibit, and a few of the other shots were also shot during that exhibit. And so this was exciting to be at the end of the trail.
And Steve, I can't tell if these are clouds or are those mountains in the distance. Can you see the Adirondacks?
You can, but not so much. No, just foothills.
Just the foothills of the
Yeah,
Dax.
you're seeing clouds.
Oh, that's the Green Mountains. We're looking northeast.
Yes, you're looking more east.
Looking
Towards
northeast.
Vermont then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are mountains too.
They are. See over
Kim,
the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
so you were just starting out.
Yeah, this was the first day. Yes.
Also,
Yeah.
So you were full of energy and ready
Yeah,
to
this
rock and roll.
Yeah, this was the first day. The first day I spent probably half of it by myself. I did about the first 20 or so miles by myself, and then the rest of the time friends were taking turns running and hiking with me. But that was actually, I had gone up to Thatcher Park to recon a little bit, but I didn't go out to the cliffs. I wanted to kind of save that for the first day because I'd seen pictures and I knew how spectacular it was. And it was incredible to see that on the first day, and just really, really beautiful. And the trailhead, what it was, I think it's moved now. It's very unassuming that because Ken, you were there, right? You were there at the start, and it's a little gravel lot with a sign that says end to end. So it was cool to kind of disappear into the woods. It gets thick really quick, and then I don't know how many miles later, pop out on these incredible cliffs. I remember there were a lot of hawks flying around the cliffs too. It's really, really beautiful.
And Heather, this was the end for you guys.
It was. Yeah, this was the last day.
So it really was about just checking off another long distance trail, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you've got a long and growing resume of long distance trails.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love to do.
Yep.
Yeah, but every trail, every single one is special. And I would like to say too that of like all the trails I have hiked, the long path was certainly one of the most spectacular. I can say every single day there was something to see, whether it was a vista or a waterfall or a unique ecosystem. Like you felt like every day you got a reward, which I cannot say, for the Appalachian Trail. Yes, the Appalachian Trail is 2,000 miles, but there's a lot of walking in the woods, where you don't always get to see anything great. And that can be said for a lot of long distance trails. So although the long path is shorter, it doesn't have that length that some of our, the more well-known trails have. It is very unique and impressive in what you get to see in that shorter length of time. Yeah, when I was standing at this vista, I was just aware of like how intimately we had come to know the trail and the landscape through which we were moving. When you're traveling by foot, it is a very different experience. You get an opportunity to create a relationship with the place through which you're moving. You're not just seeing it in passing, you're smelling it, you're touching it, you're interacting with it, you feel like you're communicating with it. And so it was really it was a reflective moment, I'd say, standing there at that vista. And
How many days did you take getting?
it was 32 days. 32.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you did it in 9 days, the whole thing?
Yeah, that's a wow.
We were just saying it's real, before the chat, we're like, time is relative. In some weird way.
And there are places to stay. Oh, you get out.
There are campsites. There's lean-tos as well. There's a handful of lean-tos. And then you pass through towns too, so you do have opportunities to, like, we stayed in some hotels.
Could you do it without any tents, carrying tents, or?
I mean, maybe
Actually,
today, like,
yes. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't carry it. But here's what I remember from the end of the long path. So I got to the little gravel parking lot with the sign, the end of the long path or whatever it says. And a friend picked me up and took me to get some breakfast and then dropped me at the bus station, I think the one in New Paltz, to go back to the city. And I took a little nap. And when I woke up, I realized I was starving, because when you do a through hike or a run, you've got to budget a certain amount of calories. And I had done some calculations. Part of the problem was it had taken me a little bit longer than I thought. So my food supply did not increase with the number of days. And I woke up and I was so hungry. It's like there's like a little part in my personality where somebody woke up and hit the emergency stop. And I was like, I'm so hungry, I can't move. I was like, I'm gonna lie here. And eventually somebody will find me and I'll call an ambulance. And then I remembered there was a deli across the street. Now crossing the main street in New Paltz is not necessarily easy. So I staggered across and I got not one, but 2 blueberry shakes. You remember the details. And that sustained me enough to get back and get onto the bus. But then for the next week or two, I was just famished. So look, that's the 6 pictures we wanted to share with you, and we'll take some more questions. But I actually just got word. We've kept a schedule. So actually, I think we have a bonus image. And you guys don't even know what this is, right? So the bonus image comes from the Middleburg area. And by the way, when I ran the long path back in 2013, I'd never heard of the Schoharie Valley. No idea what the Schoharie Valley was. Middleburg is right in the middle of the Schoharie Valley. And these are the cliffs. A picture that Steve, so
That Roman's nose. It is, yeah.
that's Roman's Nose in the distance.
Yeah.
And what
This is from the cliffs.
this is from the cliffs. And what's interesting about Middleburg, you can see Middleburg, that's the little town, and it's got this incredibly historic and interesting, iconic Roman's Nose, which, by the way, is where the Revolutionary War sharpshooter Mike Murphy encountered some Mohawk warriors, and he was carrying a couple of jugs of milk home from the farm, and he saw them. He had to jump off the top of Roman's Nose without spilling the milk, run home and get his breakfast. And then looking this way, you have this iconic row of cliffs. So now the problem is these cliffs are, again, owned by private landowners. And I had heard that they put that land up for sale and they were asking $1 million for it. So I don't know what's going on with this property, and if I did know, I wouldn't be authorized to share. But anyhow, Steve, tell us what brought you up here. And
My friend did the appraisal for the.
Oh, an appraisal.
For the trail company, right?
all right.
So, so we were hiking, this was January this year, we were hiking around, we went up sort of a side road, a dirt road up there. And on both sides, it's sort of cliffs on both sides, like the west, this is the west face. And the east face is cliffs, and then it peters out down towards the town where the road came up from. So they're trying to sell this property and look at it as developable property, I guess, which is why they had that high asking price. And my friend Rick, who was doing the appraisal, said this isn't really very developable.
Because it's
So
a lot of
very
clips.
deep, and there's not a lot of flat land on top, and you know, you could maybe put 2 houses up there or something, but you can't put 20 houses up there, so that limits the value. I don't know. I
Did
didn't
the
see his
appraisal
final
come out to $1
report.
million or?
I don't know where he landed on it, but
Look, an appraisal does
It's
not
kind of
mean a
interesting.
transaction, so.
yeah, and he was working for the trail company,
Yeah.
so I think his mission was to
Hmm.
get a nice lower price, but
So Kim, do you even remember this spot?
I do,
You
I
would have
do.
been coming downhill, right? This is a
Yes.
steep downhill for you.
Yeah, I remember, first of all, there's a Stewart's in Middleburg, that was fantastic.
I remember the Stewart's too.
Bathroom.
I do too.
I remember that. It's like the spot. Yeah, Ruben's Nose, I remember, again, there were parts of the trail that were closed. I think there was some sort of bird of prey nesting. They closed sections of it. And then I do remember when we got down to the bottom of Ruben's Nose, my friends pulled up their phone and went to the trail conference website and read me a review that somebody had aggravatedly typed out. It was a very angry, all capital letters review of Ruben's Nose on the backside. They're like, we've been waiting to tell you this till you got down the backside because it's very, very steep. It's all loose dirt, and this review from the angry hiker was like, you need to remove this trail immediately. That's crap.
That was me,
Is
actually.
that you?
2013, when I came through, I was like, why do I have to go up and
Gradual,
down? This is
then-
annoying.
Yeah, very.
the other
very
side
steep.
is steeper than it really looks there.
Yeah, it was steep, memorable.
So
I'm not gonna laugh
you
at
didn't
it.
stop for pizza at Hoopie's or Hoopie's?
Did not stop.
Hoopie's was closed, but I had to go to the Stewart's too.
Yeah, Stewart's.
Did you guys stop in Middleburg and
We went to the Stewart's.
to the
Yeah,
Stewart's?
we went to the
Okay.
Stewart's also.
So
It's the place to go.
It is, yeah.
So Middleburg is a trail town, and we can say that Stewart's has gotten at least 3 customers over
Five.
the last.
We went there also on the day we did the.
5.
appraisal. Students has plenty of customers. there.
Definitely.
All right, so we're not at liberty to talk more about this.
Before you hop off of this topic, though, they have a couple cool things in Middleburg. They have a Long Path Park,
Mhm.
which is down by the river, and a big sign that says Long Path Park, and that's kind of cool. That they celebrate the fact that Long Path goes through town, and they have nice signs in town pointing to the Long Path and stuff, which you don't see that on other Long Path towns.
Yeah.
You don't really see it in Phoenicia or in Woodsboro.
Although it's
Nyack.
catching on, now in Nyack, you have a long path outfitters.
We do, yes, that's right, yeah.
And Altamont has a big kiosk now, and they're very excited. So, this is,
It's good to see some.
yeah, there's,
Yeah, absolutely.
people like a long distance trail, and you don't have to do all of it at once. But people like having it in the backyard. Okay, so that's it. We're gonna stop now, and take any questions, from folks here, and Pat will call out if we get questions from people online. And, as a reminder, Heather and I have books if you'd like to relive some of these adventures, or learn more.
About the maps, can we download section by section maps on Avenza, or I didn't see that.
No, we don't have Avenza maps for every section of the long path. We have this interactive map, which you can access as long as you have a signal. I think, and Heather and and Kim, you guys have a lot of experience. I think probably the easiest thing is just to make sure the long path is uploaded to all the popular hiking apps, like Gaia and All Trails. And, that would be easier than asking Jeremy, I think, to create a giant map for it.
I think once you get to the Catskills South, it's pretty much all covered
Mhm.
on Trail Conference.
Yep.
I don't know. for
Harriman
sure.
and-
There's a couple, like the gap between the Gox and Stonewall. There's
Right.
no map for that, but everything else is probably on a Trail Conference, maybe just off the top of my head.
Kim, well, you had people with you, but how did your team navigate and keep you on?
Yeah, we had downloaded a GPX file and
Mhm.
put it in the Gaia. But I think
Yep.
one other thing I'd mention is there's a Facebook group called Friends of the Long Path that is really, really helpful because it's real-time data from people who are going out on the trails. Literally, it seems like almost every day people are out and giving reports on sections and also giving tips like, hey, there's a big blowdown, or for people who are doing section hikes. I found that to be really helpful when I was training, was like, where can you get cell service in order to call an Uber if you're gonna do like an out and back and you don't want to get stranded. But and also the community in the Facebook group is really cool. Like people, I think I enjoy just seeing everybody's pictures and interacting.
Yeah, and I found the descriptions that were on the
Yeah.
trail conference page to be super helpful. Like we followed those point by point. Yeah, I mean, I printed out, I think before we went, I omitted the photos as much as possible to save on paper, but I printed out those directions, and then mailed them to ourselves at various post offices. So that was helpful.
Yeah, the trail conference just totally revamped the whole long path page.
Oh.
So there's a lot of information on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I printed it. Now, I did this a few years back, and GPS was out there, but not quite as popular. And I was carrying paper printouts in my cargo pockets. And I remember I got to Route 52 below South Gully on the way up to Sam's Point. And I pulled it out and it said, walk along the road for 0.1 mile. And it was night. I was like, and I was sure that there was a road up to, there is a road up to Sam's Point. So I walked out a little ways and I was like, is that 0.1 mile? And I wasn't sure, so I went back.
Yeah.
So I went back and forth like several times before I found the trail. I eventually made it up. Yes, ma'am.
Get when you're in Harriman and you're gonna cross over like the New York State Thruway, what is there a road that you guys can go under or over? How do you? Because it goes right by like, the Harriman.
Yeah, you go over the road, it's a road walk.
Oh, there is?
Yeah,
So,
it's a road walk, it's a road walk, yeah,
okay.
and there's just.
But not on, you're asking about the thruway?
No, how do you get over that? Cause I know like they've got like Route 6, you can take Route 6 and that brings you over the thruway and into Harriman, but how do you do that when you're hiking? Or.
Well, I know you don't walk on the thruway. Do not walk on the thruway.
It's a road.
Who remembers?
Yeah, I know.
You do cross over Route 6. I do remember that.
You crossed over.
Yeah, and it is, well, for me, the trail was devastated because of storms, there was no traffic, but I had gone earlier and it was a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, it's sketchy.
Yeah.
You cross it at Nyack as well, and you're on a road and it's an overpass, so.
The thruway is the path through history, right? That's what all the I love New York signs say.
Yes.
The thruway is the more direct path from New York City to Albany, the Albany area. The long path is the slightly less direct.
Are you referring to the spot where you get into the Harriman?
I hiked in Harriman a lot.
Yeah.
And I just have been so curious to know when you're doing the long path, because I know you can take Route 6 and you can get into, like, if you're going 17 to go to Middletown and on, I always wonder, like, how do hikers get across over here? Because
Yeah.
I've never seen, but I think somebody said Pine Hill Road or something like that. But I heard
Well,
something.
on the south side entering Harriman, the long path, it comes down from, is it Tor Mountain or,
That's Palisades Parkway.
that's Palisades. And then you go alongside the Palisades.
Yeah.
and then you go up-
it's-
But I thought I was gonna get
It's
killed.
Pine Hill Road
Yeah.
that crosses the thruway here. So it looks
I remember
like
that.
On a map.
Ma'am, you're bringing back memories,
Season.
from a long time ago, because I remember coming down and you have to cross an on-ramp, right? Or is it an
I do
off-ramp?
remember that.
And there's a aqua blaze on the guardrail.
Scary.
Oh, right, on the Palisades.
Yeah.
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 It's not far, but
About that, yeah.
Yeah, that's
We've been
that's a
there
weird, that's a weird.
75%.
Because it goes up to the West Point,
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
you know, and then you cut across on a different spot.
you don't want to just go wandering through West Point.
The long path has a seasonal route.
Yeah, seasonal route.
Plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the cool things about the long path is it really is stitched together. And so you have the most beautiful parks and preserves and mountains and vantages. But sometimes there's some connectors that are a little odd. But that makes it sort of a really New York experience. Because if you go north to south, you're escaping the sprawl.
Yeah.
And it gets wilder and wilder and more remote. And of course, you can do it the other way.
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm at Hook Mountain all the time. I live right up the street there. So you guys said something about being a trail angel, and how would I find out about something? Because I think that would be really fun for me to meet.
Just get your barbecue and sit it out there.
So yeah, I mean, I know there's a place right near Rockland Lake where you guys probably remember when you crossed over, like, I don't know, were there trail angels that came out and met you guys out there, or, because I would do that.
Yeah, I mean, I had friends who were out there because they knew, and I had a live tracker where people could see where I was. But again, I would probably refer to that Facebook group to see when, because people again will say like, oh, I'm gonna hike section blah blah blah.
Okay.
There are people here in the room.
That one right there.
Zach is going for the FKT, so do you need some trail support? Because that's like a great.
Always welcome.
Okay.
So, well, you could post on the Facebook, the friends of the Facebook page, or that Zach could connect you with Andy, who had set up a Trail Angel network. But I remember after I met Heather and Scott, me and Odie in the Catskills, and we walked out along the road after going up Sugarloaf. I didn't want to carry Odie down Sugarloaf because there's a steep section. So we walked back the long way, and it was sort of hot.
It was.
And we were getting tired walking, or I was. And we're passing these houses. This is the Catskills, so there's a house, there's another house. I'm like, if I knocked on their door, would they give me some water? Or would they, shoot me or something? So we didn't stop. And then a car drove past, and I was like, if I waved, would they stop? Because I was thirsty. And so we got we were about a quarter of a mile from where we parked. And there was a woman walking her dog. And her name was Rose. And she said, oh, are you guys doing the long path?
Yeah.
Would you like some water?
Oh.
Do you need a ride? So we were right back at our car, but people, the path has users and then a community of supporters, and it's all great. So
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I never knew you could camp on the long path. So how did you know where you could and couldn't camp?
Yeah, well, I believe the written instructions do have information on that, right? As to where you can legally camp and where you can't. There are places where there's not a good.
Would you say you camped more than you stayed in hotels, or were you?
We definitely camped more than we stayed in hotels. Yeah, we did. Yeah, it would be nice if there were some more allowances made for folks to camp in areas that are like, say you're through hiking or you're doing a section or something. It'd be nice if there was like a permit system or something where you could, say I'm doing my hike from this day to that day. I'm gonna stay one night, leave no trace, no campfire or anything like that.
There's a lot of places where you can camp, like DEC lands, like in the Catskills, and there are lean-tos in places which are a huge.
And I've always poo-pooed the log path because I couldn't camp.
Well, so there are a couple spots like in the Palisades where realistically you would call for an Uber
Right.
to go to a hotel. But once you get up, and then there's a road walk in the Wallkill Valley area, right? So, but once you're past that area, I think most of it is campable.
Yeah, I mean, we felt like most of the time we were able to find a legal campsite. Yeah, yeah. Private property issue, when you're going to private property, obviously you can't camp there
And this is where the Friends of the Long Path could be really helpful. If you said, hey, I'm coming through on this date, can anybody help me pick me up and just drive me to a place where I could camp?
Yeah.
Checking with Pat just to see if we're.
Question to ask.
If you're online and would like to ask a question, just type it in the chat and then Pat will read it out to us and we'll make sure to get you an answer.
Yeah, and speaking of trail angels and camping too, I mean, the trail angels that we ended up encountering, it was completely by happenstance, like Ken, and Rose that you met along the road there. We would just meet folks in town and, next thing we knew, they were offering to, hey, camp in the backyard or camp up in the back field. Just outside of Middleburg, there was an older man named Mr. Wilsey. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he died.
No.
Oh, he was such a sweet soul. And the trail went through his property and he saw us coming up and he was, are you guys hiking the long path? And he had his overalls on and a big walking stick. And we said, we are. And he said, oh, you've come a long way. And we must have stood there and talked to him for nearly an hour, and then he was like, well, "Where are you guys sleeping tonight?" And we were like, we were in a spot, we were in a bind. We're like, "I don't know. It's private property. There's always trespassing sign. We don't know." And he's like, "Well, I got a master bedroom." And it was our second to last night on the trail, and so we were like, "Oh, like that's so sweet," but. You got all these cornfields around. You're like, would it be okay if we
I
just put
think
a tent there?
he called out to me.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
I was going through.
Oh.
I met somebody at Hubie's Pizza in Middleburg. And then when I reached out and I was coming through, he said, stay at my house. So people will definitely go out of their way to help folks on the long path.
Yeah. And if you just put your name out there, I mean, folks will take it on.
I live in a condo, so I can't put anybody, I do have a second bedroom if somebody wanted to, I mean, I would do it. I think it'll be really fun. I'm literally a mile.
And even just having someone like, here's a cold drink.
Yeah.
Like that is
bring you into
huge.
town.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love to do.
A meal at the now defunct Fernwood restaurant in Palinville gave me a Coke when I came through.
Oh.
And his big furry dog jumped out of the house and barked and ran around and wagged his tail. But you remember that. I appreciated that. So question for you guys, and we'll wrap things up here in a second. Does anybody have upcoming plans or interests in doing something with the long path? And it could be pictures,
We want to do section by section.
section by section.
We have been doing it, we are up to section 4.
Yes.
Oh, just one day, we
Uh-huh.
we don't have to take any time off, just.
Oh, nice. And so far, so good?
It's amazing.
Okay.
Some of these things that you guys talked about, we haven't been to any of those places yet.
Lots to look forward to.
The first picture you did.
Yes. We have done Sands Point too,
Oh, nice.
but back then we were not into the long distance and whatnot, so we had no idea what long path was. We just did it as an attraction, we went to the ice cave and.
Yeah, it's a nice hike.
Yeah.
Great. Any last comments or questions or? Yes, sir.
Just curious, it's the 250th this year, any special plans to do anything on the trail, a hike or anything that commemorate?
Oh, for us?
Yeah.
Oh, we're all retired. No. Any special plans?
I don't have any now. But I mean,
Maybe we need
officially
to
with the long path celebrating the 250th birthday of the US, I don't know if anyone's thought of that.
Well, we do know our executive director, Josh Howard, will be hiking the entire path.
Oh,
Later in October, so he's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Be listening in, he's gonna get ready. Get in shape.
That's cool.
Is he through hiking?
Tracking his journey along the way.
Is he doing this? Is that through hike?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, you know,
Trying first section.
you think about it, and by the way, I'd like to do it again at a leisurely pace. You know, like a mile a day or something. You go for a slow snow time. But there are all sorts of things you could do. I don't know if has anybody ever done a yo-yo on the long path.
No.
That's where you go north and then turn around and go back the other way.
There has been one hiker that did
Uh-huh.
the trail both ways, but not.
Not, so that's not a yo-yo, that would be some other term. And you could just do repeats.
Section we're doing yo-yo.
Right.
huh?
When you have one car, that's gonna, so you're gonna end up, you will have done it twice.
Yes.
Both north and south, so that's pretty cool. All right. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we hope you guys go on to have lots of fun.
Be back to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The bare feet. I maybe everybody else knows. Do you do everything with feet?
Well,